Good morning, everyone. If you could please take your seats. Well, I know a few folks are just sitting down and just getting a chance to enjoy lunch, but I will do some announcements first, then we will go ahead and do our introductions. So just to run through a few announcements of some upcoming chamber events, there's quite a pile of papers at your place. It has some information. Next Wednesday, we will be hosting our monthly Coffee and Connections networking event. It's from 7:45 to 8:45 a.m. at the Forest Lake Ice Arena. And if you are looking to build your referral network, or if you are new to referral networking, this is a great group to try out. In the first 2 months, we have generated over 100 referral leads for participants. And in the packet of attendees, there's a little mini reminder of it in there, and we'll have more details in the newsletter this Friday. On Thursday, April 2nd, the Chamber will be hosting our first quarterly member mixer, and that's this clever Eat Drink Network postcard that's there. These are new events, and they're designed to encourage you to meet people in a casual setting with no agenda, no speaker, just good food, beverages, adult beverages, and time to make important business connections. The first event will be on Thursday, April 2nd from 4 to 6, and it is being hosted at the Rendezvous Retreat, which is a historic house that you can rent for business meetings, dinner parties, or small get-togethers. So there's a flyer at your place. Catering will be from Famous Dave's, and the folks at Forest Lake Floral will be decorating, so I think it'll be a fantastic event on Tuesday, April 2nd. On the back of your attendee packet is a flyer for our annual legislative breakfast. This will take place on Tuesday, April 14th from 7:30 to 8:45 at Famous Dave's. This is an annual event that is an opportunity to interact with state and national elected officials. So Famous Dave's will be hosting that event, and I think it'll be a great time. As we promised in December, the Chamber has started work on overhauling our website. We're hoping to unveil the completed project for you in May. That will include enhancements to our membership directory, and it will make our membership directory mobile friendly, so folks on handheld devices can use it. I did pull our stats for 2014, and the online membership directory is really an important member benefit. We had over 22,000 visits to the online membership directory last year, so it is really well used. And then finally, at your place is a green survey asking for feedback on this event. And if you're not getting our e-newsletter, please let me know. So I'd appreciate it if you would just take a moment at the end of the event, fill this out, and leave it on the registration table as you go. And then finally, there is a little calendar of events that you can use to populate your personal calendars with upcoming Chamber events over the course of this year, which I found very helpful for myself, and I thought, well, I wonder if our members would enjoy that. So that's there for you. All right, let's go ahead and do introductions. I want to start by recognizing the members of the Forest Lake Area Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors who are here today. So I'll ask them to please stand when I call their name. Kelly Appel from Lake Area Bank. Tammy Kasprovitz, did I get it close? Closer, from OSI Physical Therapy. Tammy is more than 1/32 Irish with that Kasprovitz. Larry Martini from the Forest Lake Area School District is our erstwhile treasurer, and Lisa Stegner from Timeless Elements Med Spa and Laser Center. Thank you very much. I am also, thank you. Also excited to introduce 3 new members today, so I'm going to ask them to stand to introduce themselves and say a few words about their business. So we will start with John Bodine from Heather's Green and Clean. And John, if you want to come up here and use the mic, it'll be on TV.
No pressure at all. How's my makeup? John Bodine with Heather's Green and Clean. We are a locally owned residential small commercial cleaning business. As the name denotes, green and clean, we use green products. So we use products that are going to be less intense on the environment and on the person. So when you come in, what some people notice is like it doesn't smell like something because we don't use those types of products where you're going to have that lingering effect, which can cause allergies and different things like that. We've been around. I've been around since 1969 myself. That's when I was born in this town. So Long legacy. I've had many of a beverage in this place, I must say, on the 4th of July. So we've been here for a long time. You may know my father, Roger Bodine. He's been kind of in the community for multiple years. But yeah, we live over up 97. My wife is she's the muscle, I'm the mouth. And she's wonderful and does a great job. If you want to check us out, I've got cards. Also, you can check out our website, heathersgreenandclean.com. And hopefully we'll hear from some of you. Thank you.
Thank you. I have
$1 million.
welcome to the chamber. Okay, we have Michael Minicino from American Family Insurance.
Hi, everybody. My name is Michael Minicino.
Minicino, sorry.
That's all right. I am Irish, by the way. I'm an agent with American Family Insurance, just about a block would be west of here, over by O'Reilly Auto Parts. I took over for, you may know, John Serpico. He was an agent in this town for over 25 years. So I've taken over for him. He's now retired as of December 31st. And we offer full line of insurance, auto, home, life, and commercial, as well as we are the #1 small business insurer in Minnesota. So that's pretty much it. If you guys need anything, give me a call. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome to the chamber. And finally, Peggy Callahan from the Wildlife Science Center.
The last name suggests I am Irish, 100%. So if anybody didn't fill in that spot, feel free to use my name. We are actually a nonprofit. The Wildlife Science Center is located about 6.5 miles that way. We are on state land, and that's one of the confusing pieces for us. We are not funded by the state. We pay them to be there. So we are completely different. Our motto is no kid left indoors. So we are a science education facility. Our programs are run by and designed by licensed science teachers, but it's more of an experiential learning experience. It's not classroom based. We are very successful with non-traditional learners. We work with a number of different charter schools. So we also have Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and all kinds of overnights. Some adults, we actually had a singles group there for an overnight and resulted in a marriage. I'm so proud of that. So nevermindmatch.com. So we are open for public visits every Saturday at 11 or 1, and we have some pretty charismatic animals that sneak science into the education, and kids don't even know it's happening. So, thanks.
Thank you. Welcome to the chamber. I had a chance to go on a tour of the Wildlife Science Center, and if you haven't done it, it is really cool, and the wolves are amazing to be able to see them that close and personal. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Linda Madsen, who is the superintendent of the Forest Lake area schools. Linda began her career teaching at Central Junior High School, teaching home economics and coaching track. She then served as a mentor coordinator and a curriculum coordinator before moving to district administration as the director of teaching and learning, and then for the past 6 years as superintendent. She is in her 34th year in education and her 34th year in the Forest Lake Area School District. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Linda Madsen.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you very much for inviting me to talk a little bit about the school district today and also our community as well. As you can see by the opening slide, the state of our schools was actually the title, and I added in there the state of our community as well, because really our schools and our community really are reflections of one another. And as we go through this today, I know we have a limited amount of time, but if there are questions that you have along the way, feel free to ask, or at the end during the presentation or after the presentation as well. We have a mission statement, of course, like many organizations do, and we've worked hard to have community members and staff members work on that. This would be actually the second kind of round of strategic planning. We do report to the board every year about our progress on that. We're very planful about it. I'm sure some of you have been in organizations where you have a strategic plan. It sits on the shelf, and then in 5 years you do another one and you really haven't worked on that or followed it. And we really do report on that and really try to look at that mission statement and that entire plan and move ahead with that. we're going to talk a little bit about the future vision for the school district and looking at some things about responding to the needs and wants of our students and families, maintaining adequate operating funds, and also looking at our facilities in the district as well. There are some statistics that you may not know about that are kept throughout the state of Minnesota and also in every state in the country. And one of those areas is students of color. I know the print is a little small, but when you look at that in 2011, there were 26% students of color in the state of Minnesota. Forest Lake had 7% students of color. And those numbers really haven't changed that much from 2015, 30% in the state and 8% in Forest Lake. One of the things that we find with that small percentage in comparison to the state and other districts is that sometimes it can be a lonely place to be a student of color in a district that has 6,700 students. So we try to serve those students if there are particular needs that they may have, also with their families as well. English learners, so those are students whose first language isn't English, and some of them do need additional assistance and help throughout their career in school. In the state of Minnesota, it stayed consistent from 2011 to 15. 8% of the learners in Minnesota are English learners, 1% in Forest Lake. So we have less than 100 students that are English language learners. Again, sometimes when you have a number that is so small, sometimes it's more difficult to serve students than if you have a larger number and you can have more staff, et cetera. But we certainly work with those students from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. Special education students, 15% at the state, 11% in 2011, and 13% in 2015 in Forest Lake. And there are many children that fall into special education. It might be learning disabilities, it might be a traumatic brain injury, it might be something that's physical. So I think there are 13 different categories for special education. And then free and reduced price lunch. This is the one that gets a lot of attention in many different ways. And in 2011, 37% of the children in Minnesota were receiving free or reduced price lunch, 24% in Forest Lake. This year, 38% in the state and 24% in Forest Lake. Just as a comparison, in 2002, only 12% of Forest Lake students, half the current figure, received free and reduced price lunch. That shouldn't be a surprise to us as we think about what happened in 2008. And also in our district, we go from Scandia, that has 15%, which is the lowest percent of free and reduced price lunch, all the way up to 52% at our area learning center. So we have a wide range of students and of percentages of those receiving free and reduced price lunch. And to give you an idea of what qualifies for free and reduced price lunch, a family of 4, it's $44,000 per year or less. So that just gives you an idea of where that lands. When I started as the Director of Teaching and Learning, which was 14 years ago, the state always sends out a report and we have to fill it out and let them know how many students are homeless. And when I first got that report, I thought, how am I supposed to figure that out? There isn't a form that people fill out, et cetera. So really it's talking to counselors, talking to principals, if there are other folks within the school district that might know that. And so I remember that first year filling out that report and putting 0 because we didn't really have any indication of that, and that was in 2001. Since then, we last year had approximately 60 students that we determined were homeless. And that certainly is below the number that actually exists in the district, as you might imagine. The McKinney-Vento Act is federal legislation that really talks to us and tells us some of the things that we need to do for children and families that are homeless. One of the things is they automatically get free lunch, as we just talked about. They get transportation to their home school. So you might imagine that if a family is homeless and a child is homeless, the McKinney-Vento Act is all about making sure that there is at least one stable place in that child's life, and that's school. So you might move out of your neighborhood and live with friends, you might live with family, you might go to a shelter. So we are obligated as a school district to make sure that that child gets to school and then gets back home no matter where they reside. So that might mean a bus picks them up if that's what's convenient, or a different transportation service, or we would pay mileage, for example, for a parent or someone to bring that child to school. That whole idea, though, is about having that stable place for them. We also have a definition, of course, of homelessness, and think about two different situations. So if I decide that I'm going to save some money and I'm going to go live with my cousin, so we are staying in the same residence, but it's our choice because we decided, hey, we can save some dollars doing this. I'm not homeless. If, however, I'm in a home that I'm renting, perhaps the person that owns that doesn't pay the mortgage, it gets taken over by the bank, etc., I don't have a place to live all of a sudden. And maybe I'm experiencing some financial difficulties as well. The only place that I can go that I can figure out, because in our school district we do not have one homeless shelter. So I figure out I'm going to go live with my cousin because it's the only place that I can live. I'm considered homeless in that situation because it's not where I want to be. It's not my choice. There's some economic issues that I'm confronted with, and that's really my only option. So sometimes we have a view of what a homeless family looks like or a homeless child looks like, but a lot of times it's if you're sharing a home with someone else, you might be living in a motel, that isn't the place that you would choose to live, etc. So we do spend a lot more time looking at that McKinney-Vento Act and really have a lot of resources that are available for families that come to us. At first, we would have to very carefully talk to families if we heard that they might be homeless. And now many times families know that we are there to help them, to give them resources, and to hopefully support them and get them back on their feet and support their children as well. There are a couple of programs that we have locally that are wonderful programs. One I put on there, the Coat Fund, and Julie Oman is part of that, our Director of Community Ed. And we provide coats for children that don't have coats, don't have hats, mittens, boots, etc. I know it was over 200, and maybe it was more, Julie, but over 200 that we provided this year. And that has been going on for many, many years. Food for Kids is a program through Family Pathways that just got started this year. It's a great program. It's for families that don't have enough food for the weekend. We started at Forest Lake and Forest View. We're not reaching all of the families, but we're reaching 100 families, and the children then get a pack of food that they put in their backpack for the weekend for breakfast and lunch. I think I say that our only error, I think, in packing those was our Forest View students, our kindergarten through third grade. And the first week we made them a little heavy, so it was a little hard for them to tote them onto the bus, so we made them a little lighter the next few weeks. The other good news is that our STEP program, or our transition program for 18 to 21-year-old students who have disabilities, they're the ones that then go to Family Pathways and help pack those as well. So it's a great program, again, one that was just started and one that we can really be proud of as a community. So as we look at kind of shift gears and look at options for our elementary students, these are some of the things that parents expect, that they want, that they desire as they look at where they might send their children. We have a language immersion program. It's Spanish, it's partial immersion, which means our children learn literacy or reading and writing in English, but all their other content is in Spanish. If you've never been in an immersion program, it's amazing. You walk in there with those kindergartners, the teacher starts the very first day of school speaking only Spanish, and you think, this will not work. They will not get it, they will not understand it, and it does. Immersion has a long history, and it's a great way for students to learn a second language. So it's a very successful program. We have a STEM program at Lino Lakes Elementary. International Baccalaureate is at Scandia. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but that is a 3-year process to go through that at a minimum. The Scandia staff did an excellent job, and it's really looking at all of the things around you with more of a world view. And so that is a program that is around the world. The school forest is at Linwood Elementary, and we have some programs there. And then we also have very focused literacy and math instruction, which we call interventions. So for all students, no matter where they're at, where are they right now, and what is it they need to move forward? So it can be students that are behind, students that are excelling, that time during the day to help them move forward. When we look at our secondary program, we really pride ourselves in having a comprehensive secondary program. And that's connecting with all students. When you have 6,700 students, or if you have 500 students, you're always trying to see what is it that's going to spark their interest, their enthusiasm, to keep them going, to doing the best that they can. We're fortunate in Forest Lake when you look at about the 330 or so school districts in the state. We're one of the largest geographically with over 200 square miles, and also one of the larger school districts as far as number of students. So we are able to offer students many options. We have over 200 elective courses at the high school for students to choose from. And as we have experienced budget cuts just throughout the country and in the state of Minnesota, one of the things that is cut often and at the beginning are elective, what we would consider to be elective courses. So art, industrial tech, family and consumer science or home economics, world languages, etc. We have held on to those. It's been difficult to hang on to them. There is a lot of pressure not to, because we should focus, when you think about No Child Left Behind, on math and writing and reading and science, which of course are extremely important. But there are other things that we believe students need to have opportunities for as well. We're going to talk a little bit about some specific courses that are unique to Forest Lake, and then also about advanced placement in college and the schools. This is, and you don't need to be able to see all of the detail, but this is industrial technology or industrial arts. This is the different areas that they have, and we encourage all of our departments to look at this and to talk to kids about, if you're interested in these particular areas, what can that mean for you after graduation? It might mean a trade school, it might mean college, etc. So you can see up there it's auto, power, electronics, metals, drafting, woods, and carpentry. If you've been to the high school, you know that we have an auto shop where we actually take in cars and they actually work on cars. They don't just have a computer simulation or read about it in a book, but actually work on them. And you may have seen the house, the various houses that have been built that are out between the district office and the high school. And so if you look under Carpentry 2, the students that are in Carpentry 2, their project is to build a house, which they do, and then we sell that house, and once that is sold, then we have money for the next year to get started to build that again. So if any of you are ever looking for a house, it's a really good deal and well built. The healthcare and EMT programs are really unique to Forest Lake. We were the third district in the state to have these particular programs. You can see there are 4 classes that are listed there. The introduction to healthcare is a partnership with Fairview Lakes, and we've been, and also with Pine Tech. The emergency medical responder, that's you get your EMT or EMR license. The emergency medical technician, there are 2 classes that are there. Once you complete that successfully and you're 18 years old, you can take the National Registry EMT exam. So for those people that are in that world of work, that's a big deal. And to be able to do that when you're in high school, and we have about an 85% pass rate for those students that make that decision to take that test. And then the last course, Extended Emergency Care, those students then receive a certificate to be a CPR trainer. So many times when we have in-services in our school district where we need to be certified with CPR, we actually are having our own students certify the adults in CPR. And so it's, like I said, it's a great program. It's very intensive. They do rides with ambulance, with police, with fire, etc. Joe Graff, who is pictured there, he was a school board member for many years, lives in the Linwood area. He is the one that is the driver behind that and started the first program in the state in Spring Lake Park in the 80s, and then approached us after he was off of the school board about starting one in Forest Lake, and we did, and it's a great program. We also have what many of you may have experienced if you have children or have had children in our school district, College in the Schools and Advanced Placement courses. And again, the list here is extensive and it's in many different departments. College in the Schools is concurrent enrollment with the University of Minnesota. So when you have a successful completion of that course, you get a transcript from the University of Minnesota, and then you would take that transcript to wherever you're going to go on to college. Advanced placement, there is a test that you take at the end of that course. You get scored 1 through 5, typically 4s and 5s for sure, and sometimes 3s are then given credit for college, and you would take that to the college that you're going to attend as well. So we have, things in animal science, in art, in literature, in calculus, music theory, biology, Spanish, political science, etc. Wide range. Many times our students and their families work very hard to plan that out, and our students can leave high school with a year of college or more that's of no cost to them. So many of them then can finish, if they're looking at a 4-year degree, can finish in 3 years, or they can go for 4 years and get a minor or another major, et cetera. So there are many students that take advantage of this, and we are so fortunate, again, to be the size district that we are, that we can offer over 30 AP and College in the Schools courses. We're one of the top districts in the state as far as the number of courses and the number of kids that participate in that. Well, as we look at then those pieces that we have that we're proud of, we also, of course, like any organization, have challenges as well. And so we're going to talk a little bit about those challenges. Legislative issues and funding from the state. We have a basic formula that you've maybe heard about that every school district in the state receives. The governor has said that 1% is what he's suggesting for this coming year and the year after. We would say that our costs, and when I say we, collectively we in the state of Minnesota in school districts would say that that's not enough. The costs are going up higher than that. We've had some years when it's been flat. So there's a lot of struggle and a lot of conversation about that right now. The Republicans also talked about 3% each year. So who knows? The legislative process is very interesting. And how it gets down to those final minutes. So it all seems so orderly at the beginning. I think that every session it seems so orderly, and maybe it will be different. And you just are not really sure what's going to happen. Alt facilities funding. You may have heard about that somewhat. There are 25 districts in the state that the school board can actually levy for dollars to keep up with maintenance. And it's the 25 largest districts with regard to square footage and age of their buildings. We're a couple below that, and so we don't qualify for that. When you look at the districts that have that capability, they spend about $550 per student on maintenance. Those of us, the 300 of us that don't in the district, spend less than $220 a student. So when people ask, well, why don't we keep up our buildings in a better fashion? Why don't we do that? It's kind of an unfair way in which that's done for only a few districts in the state. So we've been at the legislature. There's a bill for statewide alt facilities funding that we've testified for. Larry Martini and I were there and did that, along with one that's just specific for Forest Lake. There are a couple of school districts that have less square footage than we do. Their legislators got them in along, tagged on to another bill. So some of you have heard me say I think the right thing is that it should be the same for all districts in the state. But if the legislature isn't going to do that, then give it to us, because that's what other districts have said, and that's what we need to say too. Categorical funding, such as transportation, there's a bill that is being worked on currently at the legislature. Again, we spend more on transportation just because of the number of square miles, over 200 square miles in Forest Lake. You can imagine that we spend more on transportation than Centennial to the south, that has 26 square miles, or Fridley, that has 4 square miles. So there's some formulas that are figured out that we get allocations in each school district, and we exceed those calculations just because we have so many miles to travel. You know, managing our budget, just like any organization, we have to make sure that that balances. And for next year with the projections, so we don't know what we're going to get from the state, so we have to guess what will, an educated guess, and looking at a couple of different things, and we want to make sure that we have a fund balance, as again, any business or organization would want to have. So we are right in the midst now of cutting $2 million for next year. We've cut many years. I think we've cut 4 out of the 6 years I've been superintendent, and years before that. So $2 million is a big deal, especially when you've been cutting as much as we have. So when we look at other districts, and there are other districts that are making reductions too, we do comment many times, however, that they're cutting things that we never had even in the best of times. And so it's difficult. It does mean people, it does mean positions, et cetera, with 80% of our budget being folks that are bus drivers, teachers, administrators, paraprofessionals, et cetera. When we look at facilities, facilities is another piece that, certainly you've probably read a little bit about, or a lot about, in the newspapers, and we have been working on our facilities for a long time. What's needed? How do we make sure that we have the best facilities for our students that we can? You'll see at the top that a gap analysis was started in 2009. That was part of strategic planning. And it was what is, what should be, what's the gap? That happened in 2009. Again, it was repeated in 2010. The number was so big, we're like, are we sure that's right? So we did it again with community input and conversation. We had a bond in 2010 that failed for $24 million. We had a facilities task force that was formed in 2013, put in many hours. The folks from the community were so committed to looking at buildings. They went to every facility in our district, which is 15, spent 3 Saturdays physically being in those buildings, having lots of conversation, came forward with a recommendation. The school board made the decision to have a bond vote in 2014 in the spring, and that failed. We had a second facilities task force that was formed in 2014 to review that. They have. An interesting part of that was that the task force members that were community members asked that school board members and staff not be part of the final look at all the detail and the recommendations. So we agreed to that. So they did that work on their own and did a great job, very thorough, spent many, many hours again, made a recommendation to the board. And so now we have a bond referendum that's scheduled for November 3rd of 2015. The details of that are, there's 2 questions at this point. One is for $143 million, safety and security, the Americans with Disability Act compliance, air quality and other issues, and a secondary campus plan. I'm not going to go into all of the detail with all of it. We certainly have a lot of detail if you want to get more information. The second question is $18 million and arts and athletics upgrades. So the Performing Arts Center at the high school, baseball fields, the football stadium, et cetera. There was a survey that was completed after the failure of the bond in May. And one of the things was a lesser amount and wanting some options, hence the 2 questions that are listed there. The other part of the recommendation was that we work with the YMCA to have a partnership for aquatics. So we did do that, and we did form a partnership or an agreement with the YMCA for expanding the aquatic center that they are planning that will open in, I think, July of 2016. They had to go to the city council to talk about the why with their agreement, and that didn't move forward. So we don't have that agreement with the YMCA, and they have to move on with their planning. So what the board is now discussing is what to do with aquatics, because of course the aquatics piece is not in question 1 or in question 2. Likely will not be in question 1 because we do not have to have a swimming pool. Swimming instruction is not required in the state of Minnesota, so it would fall more likely and more logically in question 2 or a different question or something else. So the board talked about it at their meeting last Thursday, and we'll continue to talk about that, but we'll certainly need to come to some resolution about what to do with regard to aquatics. So looking at some different pieces, and we've talked, certainly about some innovation in education, but I do think that we really are very, very intentional about helping kids decide what's the next step after graduation. I think for myself, as I said, a 1977 graduate, it was my parents that really pushed that you're going to college, decide which one you want to go to. But the school as a whole, and I had great teachers, and I had a great education in Forest Lake, but there was not the emphasis on helping each student plan for what's the next step. We view graduation as a beginning, not an end. And so helping kids decide, is it a 4-year college, a 2-year college, a trade school, is it the military? Again, being very intentional and starting fairly early. So, and again, providing that comprehensive education. We are a birth to 21 state, which means if students or young children have some physical disabilities or cognitive disabilities, we have teachers that go into homes and help families and students. We look at the elementary piece and also at that secondary piece as well, and that comprehensive experience. Another thing that we're doing that I just want to mention is we're looking at equity. And you can see in this visual about equality and equity. And so we're striving for equity so that all will be able to have an equal kind of that opportunity. Another example that's often given is equality with everyone gets a pair of shoes. They're all size 10. Hope you like them. Equity would be we all get a pair of shoes and they all fit. So thinking about that and trying to provide equity, and really equity is about maximizing who experiences benefit and minimizing who experiences disadvantage. So really looking at that in the decisions that we make and trying to move forward with those pieces. And then the last piece I just want to just highlight is that we really do need to remember, and I said this when I started as superintendent, that this is a community that does not celebrate the positive things enough. And I really believe that. There are a lot of positive things. We have a lot of challenges here too, but there are a lot of positive things that we should celebrate. Again, our elementary schools have all been validated as a Minnesota School of Excellence. We're the only district in the state where that's happened. I mentioned International Baccalaureate, a 3-year process, and Scandia on the first try as they folks would come in from their international offices, did indeed say that we qualified for that program. We also have great students as well. Jessica Erickson, you may be familiar with her. She was a student that was in a terrible car accident in November. And there's been such an outpouring of community support to support her and to support her family. And we should all be proud of that as a community that we do that. We have staff that have won awards, these 3 folks, all within the area of technology. And we're just finishing up the winter season, and the Alpine Boys ski team placed first in the state. Some of you may have read about that they were in a pretty difficult car accident on their way, didn't get to practice that day. Giants Ridge doesn't have lights at night, so they didn't get to practice, went and skied competitively the next day and took first in state. Nordic Boys, probably our most successful team. They took state again this year. This is the 6th time in the last 11 years that they've been first in state. I always say that, these are the hidden treasures that are here that we don't talk about. Imagine if I replaced Nordic ski team with basketball. It might be different. People might know more about that. Our dance team also participated as well. Individuals, Nordic skiing champ, state wrestling champ, students in debate, students in FFA. We have a very strong program. And also celebrating our community. We started a district Hall of Fame when we had the 100th graduating class, which was 4 years ago. So we had 4 inductees last year. And also in the Arts and Athletics Hall of Fame, we had 3 inductees last year as well. So again, we have many challenges in the school district, and also I think in our community as well, but also many great things that are happening that we should remember, that we should celebrate, and we should congratulate each other on. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Linda. I have a small token of our appreciation. This is the first $1 million of your bond. So
Perfect.
you'll have to check with my treasurer to see if the check is good.
Yeah,
But-
I'll work with you on
Yeah.
that.
Thank you very much for presenting, and thank you for all you do in our community.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to help draw our prize winners, you are welcome to do that. Did everybody get their icebreaker prizes in here? Okay, so we have 3 prizes. We have a $20 gift card from our friends at Walmart, complete with some St. Patrick's Day peeps. And the winner of that is Peggy Callahan. Congratulations. And we have a $20 gift card from Tradewind Sports in downtown Forest Lake. And Larry Martini. Congratulations. And last but not least, a free chamber event gift certificate and a coffee mug to Michael Minikino. Did I get it right? You got it right. All right. Yay. I can be taught. Thank you. Congratulations. Well, that is it for today. Just a reminder to please fill out those green evaluation forms if you would, and look forward to seeing everyone next Wednesday at Coffee and Connections, on April 2nd at our member mixer, or on April 14th at our legislative breakfast at Famous Dave's. Thanks, and enjoy the day.